The UFC Fight Night, Mackenzie Dern taking on Marina Rodriguez. These are the main card predictions by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, we are giving you our fight-by-fight breakdown, fight-by-fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective, letting you know which fights are worth the value, which fights to stay away from, the underdog that has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action sticking around to the end of the video. Of course, we have come out with our prelims already, so if you haven't taken a look at that yet, good time to press pause, go ahead and watch that, and then return to this main card prediction video. But of course, we have to get on with our main card predictions. We have 5 fights on this main card. Of course, Mackenzie Dern versus Marina Rodriguez is the main event for this fight night event. But fight number 1 on the main card is Phil Hawes taking on Deron Winn. I'll start the breakdown for this one, and I'll start with Phil Hawes. He's on a 7-fight win streak at this point, beat Kyle Dawkins back in May. Scary power, cuts the ring off well, almost a stalking type of style. Throws fakes and feints to set up his punches, level changes, shows his wrestling ability as well, which is going to be huge in this fight. He'll use that calf kick and a pretty strong clinch against the cage. Again, just going back to that wrestling background that he has. With Deron Winn, he beat Antonio Arroyo going back to December 2020. Decent boxing. He does have some pop in his hands. He is willing to throw the head kick as well, show some striking diversity. We know that he is a high-level wrestler, trains with Daniel Cormier. Good takedowns. He can repeatedly land that takedown too. But with Deron Winn, cardio and heart are his biggest weaknesses. And that's ultimately going to play a factor in this fight. I like this fight a lot for Phil Hawes because Hawes, to me, has the much better stand-up. He's quicker, he's more dynamic, more dangerous. And he also has that wrestling background. So, at the very least, he will have moments where he can neutralize Winn's biggest strength. And Winn, like I said, is somebody who does not have that cardio to keep it up for 3 rounds. I also don't like how Winn's tank runs out. So he might win round 1 with wrestling, but he definitely won't win round 2 and 3. So I like Phil Hawes in this one. He's a very good threat in this one, minus 300. Not even too mad at that.
Yeah, when I look at this fight, man, I like how you broke that down. When I look at this fight, I got to ask myself, in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, who's going to be hanging around the top 10 or the top 15? And when you look at Deron Winn, he has shown in the Gerald Mearshart fight, the Darren Stewart fight, he's not there. He got the Antonio Arroyo. But in this fight, I think this is a terrible matchup as far as styles go. Like Harris, man, you got to really take this in. If he's 5'4" or 5'2", I'm sorry, 5'6", and he's gonna try to the only way to win, he has to wrestle Phil Hawes. And Phil Hawes, that's his specialty, is wrestling. We just learned that Phil Hawes can go 3 rounds. This is an easy win. This fight is honestly should be 1.20, plus 5. What is that? Plus 500? What is that?
Minus 500.
That he should be. Listen. Let me be honest with you. Deron Winn should be plus 500 to win this fight. And I'm saying it because how is he going to get this done? If he can't wrestle Phil Hawes, who's the bigger guy, how is he going to win this fight? This is a joke. The odds should be changed tomorrow morning. I'm going Phil Hawes. This is a mismatch. Again, Deron Winn's good against a guy that has wrestling that isn't that good. But he's fighting a guy that's an NCAA wrestler. So how is he going to go to his plan B in this fight when the striking doesn't work? So Deron Winn, he's out of luck here. I think this is a terrible matchup. Phil Hawes, I think he gets it done.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 2. We have Sabina Mazo taking on Mariya Agapova, a much harder fight to call compared to the last fight. With Mariya Agapova, she didn't really look too good in her last fight at all. She lost to Shauna Dobson going back all the way to August of 2020. So she has taken some time off. Introduced in the ring as a kickboxer. Before that loss, she was definitely considered a legitimate prospect because she does have that good aggressive style of striking. She throws good combinations, has good pace, has good pop in her strikes as well. And she's a pretty dynamic striker from what we've seen. With Sabina Mazo, she lost a unanimous decision to Alexis Davis back in February. A pretty lengthy kickboxer, more of a Muay Thai fighter, I should say. A bit of a leg heavy attack as well. She'll use all of her reach. Although interesting in this match, she only has a 2-inch reach advantage. Solid boxing as well, but she does need to do a better job at turning up the pace and turning up the aggression. She kind of cruises in her fight. She almost has that sparring pace to her. Doesn't really have that ability to turn it up a notch. And I actually think that's going to be the biggest factor in this fight. I think that's going to be a factor that costs her, because we know Mariya Agapova is going to come with that pressure, at least early in the fight. Again, I think the pace will be Agapova's deciding factor in this fight. I think this fight will more than likely stay on the feet, so it will be an opportunity for Agapova to push the pace. And let's see Sabina Mazo. We have yet to see her be able to match the pace of her opponents. So based on that, I'm actually a little surprised that she's sitting here as a favorite. I like Mariya Agapova in this one. I feel kind of 60-40 in this match, maybe even 65-35 in favor of Agapova. And I'm seeing Agapova here at plus 130. So I'm seeing some really good underdog value for her. Mariya Agapova is my pick.
I don't blame you, man. This is the second toughest fight to me after the Charles Rosa fight. This is the second hardest fight on this whole card. So you got to be really careful with this one. When I look at Sabina Mazo versus Justine Kish, 131 strikes, 0 takedowns she got. When I look at her fight versus Shayna Dobson, this is a fight we got to look at because Agapova got crushed by Shayna Dobson. But in that fight, Agapova clearly did not come prepared. She was not ready to fight past 5 minutes. Her cardio, like she definitely has to fix that for this fight. But Sabina Mazo versus Shayna Dobson, 4 takedowns to 0. And Marina Munoz, 1 takedown to 0. So like you gotta really like factor in that Sabina Mazo can push that pace. She can go 3 rounds. That's not a factor in this fight. And when you look at Agapova, she got 2 takedowns versus Shayna Dobson, 2 takedowns. And Dobson got 2 against her as well. And then obviously she lost in the Contender Series. Cortez obviously is showing that she's going to be a top 10 fighter very soon, if she's not already, but she was able to get 4 takedowns on her. So the takedowns could be a big factor in this fight. I think that's the only way, if we really look at this fight, I think that's the only way that Sabina Mazo wins this fight, is if she implements takedowns, is able to get 2 to 3 takedowns in this fight. If she gets 2 to 3 takedowns in this fight, she could win the fight, or it could be a close fight. I don't think on the feet that Sabina Mazo can stand up with Agapova. I know if Agapova won that fight versus Dobson, if she came to the fight in shape, the odds would not be like this. She would be 4-1 favorite. She would be 3 or 4-1 favorite. But obviously that loss takes a big hit on who she is, right? So I'm going to roll with you, Harris, here, man. This to me is a tough fight. And I'll be honest with everyone listening. I'm not a fan of Sabina Mazo. I'm not a fan of her skills. I'm not a fan of what she does in the ring. The only thing I like about her is her heart and her cardio, but that's enough to win fights. And I think that's why she wins a lot of these fights, is her heart and her cardio. They're both 24. So from their last fight, they're going to be different fighters. I'm going to go with Agapova here. I think a lot of this fight could be on the feet. I can't guarantee it. I'm not a psychic, but if a lot of the fight's on the feet, I think Agapova is the better striker, the cleaner striker. And remember, before she lost to Dobson, they thought she was the next big thing, right? She was like Joanna Jędrzejczyk with the striking. So I think there's a good chance she wins this fight here. And underdog money, there's no way I'm picking Sabina Mazo as a favorite. I'm just not a fan of her style. I don't think she has much skill. But again, she has that heart. She has the cardio. But hopefully Agapova can get 2 rounds here and then just survive the 3rd round. So I'm going to go Agapova to get this done.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 3. Probably one of the more difficult fights for me to judge. Tim Elliott taking on Matheus Nicolau. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I'm glad you passed this one off, man. You said this was a hard fight to decide. I don't think it's a hard fight. I think it's clear as day. You already know, Harris, you already know who I'm going with. And I didn't tell you, but you know my boy. You know I'm not, you already know who I like here. And there's a reason for it. When it comes to the grappling, Tim Elliott, American Jiu-Jitsu. When it comes to Matheus Nicolau, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When it comes to the wrestling, though, I'll give that to Tim Elliott. He would have the better wrestling. However, I believe that Nicolau has underrated wrestling skills because a lot of these Brazilian fighters, they showcase their jiu-jitsu. And a lot of them nowadays in 2021, for them to showcase the jiu-jitsu, they learn that they need to have some wrestling to get it to the ground. They've seen the history that there's some jiu-jitsu guys that are really good in grappling, but they can't get it to the ground. So the new breed of jiu-jitsu guys coming from Brazil, they have a bit of wrestling to get this to the mat. So in my opinion, I think Nicolau can hold his own as far as the grappling goes. I think he's a better grappler as far as jiu-jitsu goes. But when it comes to wrestling, I may give the edge to Tim Elliott. But with the striking, Nicolau is the much better striker, in my opinion. I think he's the cleaner striker, not much better, but the cleaner striker that is able to pick up points in this fight. And when I look at the trajectory of where these fighters are going in the next couple of years, Matheus Nicolau has a higher ceiling here. He's 16-2. The UFC wants to push that record here. He beat Manel Cape, and that win is aging really well. I think Tim Elliott's an easy win here for Matheus Nicolau. I think he can beat him anywhere in this fight here. Keep this on the feet. Nicolau, to me, is a lower level Pantoja. But that's the ceiling I see for Nicolau as a guy like Pantoja, and that's championship level. So I see Nicolau getting this done here, keeping this on the feet, the better striker, and enough grappling here to either keep it standing. And I think as the fight goes on, I think Nicolau may get a takedown or two. So I really like Nicolau here to get this one done. So Nicolau is my pick here, and I'm really confident Nicolau beats Tim Elliott.
Definitely a good pick. And definitely the vote of confidence is definitely going to help me in terms of my pocketbooks, because I probably do end up putting money on Matheus Nicolau at this point. Matheus Nicolau is my pick as well. I think that, of course, we know Tim Elliott is game, right? I mean, he has that big advantage over anyone with that pressure that he provides, that chain wrestling, that continuous wrestling. It takes a lot to really handle that type of pressure if you're not used to that style in the ring. But Nicolau, has that ability to keep up skill-wise, right, on the ground. The jiu-jitsu you spoke about already. You spoke about his underrated wrestling ability as well. So I feel like he has that ability to keep up from a skill perspective. Nicolau, I think, has that more patient approach in the stand-up, and I think that's going to work to his advantage. I think he's not going to play into the pressure that Tim Elliott is providing, and I think he's going to more so have it at his pace, and that's something that I'm really looking to see if that happens in this fight. Always hard to bet against Tim Elliott, but you see his record there: 18 wins, 11 losses. So that tells you that he loses fights very regularly, regardless of how game he may be. And again, I'll keep the additional analysis at that because I think that you provided a really good breakdown. Matheus Nicolau is my pick as well, -190. I am liking the value there, so I am going to go with him and possibly include him on some parlay action as well. Moving on to fight number 4, and we have our co-main event of the evening. We have Randy Rude Boy Brown taking on Jared Gooden. I'll keep this one pretty short. Randy Brown, he beat Alex Oliveira in April. Long, tall striker, long front kicks, long jab, explosive, good quick combinations as well. He's a finisher. 11 of his 13 wins have been finishes, 6 of them via KO, TKO, 5 of them via submission. Really good at finding the guillotine opportunities, really good at finding the rear naked choke opportunities, good overall fighter and a legitimate prospect. I mean, this is the way that we spoke about him in his last fight when he took on Cowboy Oliveira. For Jared Gooden, he beat Nicholas Stolze in July, has decent striking, one explosive one-punch power, uses his kicks and combinations as well, throws everything into his strikes, definitely a threat on the feet. But again, prediction-wise, I'll keep it short. Randy Brown is a legitimate prospect in this division. Jared Gooden is not, in my opinion. I think Brown is too good here. I think Brown is too dynamic on the feet. I think he's quicker. I think he has better striking IQ. I think he has more reliable striking. I think he has a better overall game if you include the ground game as well. Randy Brown is probably one of my safer picks on this card. And I'm seeing the value at minus 240, and I'm almost a little surprised by that. I thought he would be minus 350 or so. So I'm definitely looking to include Randy Brown on some parlay action. He's going to be my pick for this one.
Yeah, man, I don't blame you, man. Like I look at Jared Gooden here. He got a win versus Nicholas Stoltz. Lost 2 wins versus lost to Alan Juban. Like he's retired, and I don't know if he's retired, but he should be. And Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov. And in that fight, we thought Nurmagomedov was going to grapple Gooden, and we thought Gooden might have the striking advantage. And in that fight, Nurmagomedov stood up with him the whole fight and won a striking match. So I got no faith in this guy at all, one bit, man. This guy, he has wins versus a guy named Trent McCown, 8-4, Jay Jackson, 3-4. 4-1 Marcel Stamps. Now, those are the 3 fights that he's fought before the UFC. So I have no faith in this guy. When I look at Randy Brown, I look at a guy that was pretty much bred through the UFC. Like he went through the UFC grind. He's fought Matt Dwyer back in 2016, won. Mike Graves lost. That's no shame. Mike Graves at that point was a real problem. Won. Eric Montano, Brian Kamosi. He lost to Bilal Muhammad. No shame. He beat Mickey Gall. He lost to Nico Price, a fight that he was whipping his ass, and then he was put on a highlight reel that will be there for the rest of his life, where Nico Price was able to knock him out off his back. So he beat Brian Barina, and we know that Brian Barina will whip Jared Gordon, but MMA math doesn't work. He whipped Warley Alvarez, and he lost to Vicente Luque. Man, this guy has a legitimate record here in the UFC. He's shown up. This is an easy win. I'm sorry to drag this on. It just sounded too good, but I like my boy Randy Brown to get it done as well, man. He's gonna make it look easy. Levels, man.
Definitely levels to this. Let's move on to our main event, fight number 5. Marina Rodriguez taking on Mackenzie Dern. A really interesting women's strawweight matchup. For Rodriguez, she beat Michelle Watterson back in May. 2-fight winning streak at this point, has that Thai bite boxing style. Definitely a dynamic striker, definitely will outstrike you. Likes to control the center of the octagon. Her opponents find themselves fighting from the outside pretty often. Good Thai clinch, of course, knees in that clinch with that Muay Thai style. And, if she is taken down, she has a pretty solid protective guard. Doesn't take much damage, but she's also not that great at scrambling and getting back up. So again, that could be a factor in this fight because, of course, if Mackenzie Dern gets her down, Mackenzie Dern probably wins that round, depending on what happens on the feet prior to that takedown. For Mackenzie Dern, she's on a 4-fight win streak in her own right. We see her record there pretty impressive at 11 wins, 1 loss. She beat Nina Nunes back in April. Nina Ansarov, of course, a grappling specialist. Her striking is pretty improved. It is cleaner. It is crisper. Still has a bit of a brawling component to it, though. And she'll look for takedowns in the clinch situations. On the ground, of course, we know that she's great at making positional improvements. We know she's a very high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. She'll find those advantages and she'll definitely use the ground to her advantage. This is really a striker versus grappler by definition. Of course, Rodriguez is a striker, Dern is the grappler. For Rodriguez, definitely the superior striker. She can light up Dern on the feet, in my opinion, even with Mackenzie Dern's improved striking. It really is going to be a question of whether Mackenzie Dern can bring this fight to the ground, right? I mean, I assume this is a 5-round fight, so that's going to be really important here because Mackenzie Dern does not have the most impressive takedown numbers at all. For being a ground specialist, she only averages half a takedown per fight. For being a ground specialist, she only averages 10% takedown accuracy per fight. That said, Marina Rodriguez doesn't really have the best takedown defense. I mean, she has 62% takedown defense, which is somewhat respectable. But again, it's not the best. And like I said, she doesn't really have the best ability to get back up. Basically, whenever Dern gets her down, like I said earlier, Dern is more than likely going to be the winner of that round. But I just don't see that happening for 3 rounds for Mackenzie Dern. Being an improved striker actually might work against her because she might try to test it against a pure striker in Marina Rodriguez. For Marina Rodriguez, I think she'll control center. I think she'll win the exchanges on the feet. I think she'll not put herself in compromised positions in the clinch, in takedowns. Even if Dern gets her down for 1 round, even 2 rounds, I don't think she'll get her down for 3 rounds. And again, I think Rodriguez has the more reliable advantage being the stand-up. So Marina Rodriguez is going to be my pick here. And again, I'm a little surprised to see this as an underdog. I think the UFC really likes Mackenzie Dern right now. But Marina Rodriguez, I'm going with her, plus 135. She's going to be my pick.
Yeah, man. This is a tough fight. In my opinion, I think the UFC is pushing both fighters. I think this is a fight where Maynard put it together where obviously he may want Mackenzie Dern to win for the UFC, but if Marina wins because of her style, I think it's a win-win for the UFC. I think they want both girls to win this fight. I'm with you, man. I think Marina gets it done, and I'll explain why. Mackenzie Dern hasn't gone 5 rounds. Like, she's never been in a 5-round fight. That's serious. That's serious stuff because a lot of her, like some of her fights at the end of the 3rd round, she's shown that obviously she's tired of it. Marina has gone 5 rounds against Korean, what's her name? Karate Hottie against Michelle Watterson. Man, this is a tough fight because I think if Mackenzie Dern doesn't get her submitted in the 1st round, I think that she's going to lose this fight because as the fight goes on, 5 rounds, Harris, 5 rounds. Like, that's serious business to be taking someone down for 5 rounds and to get those takedowns when we know that Marina is one of those female fighters that has that power that can hurt you. So I'm going to go Marina as well, but I'm not too confident. I'm actually not going to bet this fight because I feel like that grappling in the UFC wants Mackenzie to win this fight. So I got to be a little skeptical about this matchup. But if I'm just going to throw a free bet out there and make a free bet at the end of the night because I won so much money and I did it just for the sake of it, I'm going to go with Marina Rodriguez as an underdog here because I think that she's the better fighter. However, I think as far as MMA goes, Dern may be the better MMA fighter. But if she doesn't get the submission, I think she's in trouble here. So I'm going to go with Marina to pretty much get her in the 2nd, 3rd round here as the fight goes on, survive the ground battle. And I think that when it gets on the feet, I think Marina is just too dangerous. So Marina's my pick.
Not mad at that at all. Definitely on the same page there. Let's take it to Vegas. Let's consider the entire card in terms of, again, in terms of underdogs, in terms of the main card. Who do we add to that? We add Marina Rodriguez at plus 137. We add Jared Gooden. We add Tim Elliott. We add Mariya Agapova, and we add Deron Winn. Whether it's the main card, whether it's the prelims, whether it's the entire card, which underdogs are you looking at?
Yeah, I'll keep my picks just to the main card since I already did a prelim. But the main card favorite picks, I'm going to go Randy Brown, Matheus, Nicolau, and Phil Hawes.
And Phil Hawes. Okay, so those three will pay out a plus 186. $100 will return 286 for our bigger bettors. $250 will return 715. In terms of my favorite picks of the main card specifically, I'm definitely echoing Phil Hawes. I'm definitely echoing Randy Brown. And you know what? I'll just leave it at that. I'll keep it as a safer main card parlay here. Bit less than double up here. So $100 will return 186. $250 will return 466. For the main card, do you have any prelim? Do you have any underdog picks?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with my homegirl. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna go with Marina Rodriguez over Mariya Agapova. So I'm gonna go again. I like both underdogs, but if I had to pick one or the other, I'm gonna go Marina Rodriguez.
Sounds good. And I will sort of mention both. I will recognize both as having a pretty good shot at winning. So I am considering both of them. I'll definitely throw in Agapova to that mix as well. So let's wrap it up at that. Of course, this has been the UFC Fight Night Mackenzie Dern versus Marina Rodriguez main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. Of course, subscribe to the channel, press the thumbs up, hit that notification bell, and participate in the comments. We want to hear from you. Which parlay picks are you considering? Which underdog picks are you considering? How do you feel about our picks? Let all of that be known. But we are, of course, going to officially sign off. Again, this has been UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Rodriguez, main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. Let's get this money.
Let's do it.